So, blueprint time, people. Blueprint time. And we're going to start off with the lovely topic of niching down, right? We hear it all the time. We've gone over it a few times, whether on a live, whether on an episode, of the importance of niching down. But can niching down give you $970 million? Let's talk about this, right? So, one of the like former CEOs of Twitch, right, broke down why, and I think his name, please, I may butcher this. I know the first name is Michael. The last name could be nope, not doing it. CEO, former CEO of Twitch,
We're bad with
Michael.
names on this podcast.
Michael
y'all.
S.
Just,
all right,
yeah,
Michael S.
yeah.
There we go. Michael S.
Mhm.
Did an interview recently and talking about how they got to where they are streaming only, and in the beginning, only gaming content. So let's talk about it.
I think the important distinction we made was that at the time, a lot of the content on Justin TV was copywritten content that streamers didn't own, or it was content that wasn't very interesting. But about 20% of the content was people playing video games. And people liked that. Let's go down that path. That was a big decision, but it was kind of a focusing decision. It wasn't really a changing decision. You know, the technology was the same, the site was the same. And at the time, we called it Justin TV Gaming. And we just built a clone of our site that only had the video game streamers. And then we rebranded that as Twitch later.
First off, can I just say that your data and your analytics can make you a lot of money?
Critical.
Can we just state that, right?
You can.
The fact that, so a little bit of a background is that as you saw that or heard, that Twitch used to be called Justin TV, right? And it was this guy who literally had a camera everywhere he goes, made a show about himself, and it was like people would do pranks on him, from things to like ordering mad pizzas to the crib, to cops even coming in and doing an investigation, right? But they realized between that and just some of the things that other people were making, it just wasn't that, like, we couldn't do anything with the content. But people really liked the gaming when they streamed games, and people actually watched other people play games. So okay, let's expand on this. Let's just focus on this. The software doesn't change. You know, the people don't change, but our focus and turning it into one thing at that time then created extra value for that particular platform. And I think about, you know, how maybe some of the answers of what we're looking for from my side of like content, right, and social media, to Moose's side with figuring out what the business could be, and maybe the products and services to pick, is literally in the data, because their data showed concentrate on gaming, and by concentrating on gaming, they got acquired by Amazon for $970 million.
That's crazy.
Right? And okay, I'm all for niching now. But it made me want to look at my analytics and be like, okay, I know what my audience wants, but can I look a little bit more and see if I focus on these particular things, then I can kill it even more, right? Even with how I want to do with Deeper Than the Brand, with a certain program, I'm like, oh, concentrate on content and community. That's it. Those are your two bread and butters. As much as you talk about content, and as much as you say they have to get off social media and create a community, stay right there. Don't go into all these other things, right? Stay right there. And this is a recent shift doing based off one, understanding what was said, where the energy is, but also what people always ask further questions about. So, my question to you is, when does one really check the data to narrow things down?
Yeah. And just before I answer this, I want to say too, part of the reason why the shortcomings happen, what is that saying? Pride comes before a fall.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jay says it almost certainly, and it's like, man, it's true. It's true. I think every entrepreneur gets too obsessed with their way and what they want ahead of the data, the proof, the facts. And that tends to lead to the downfall. Now, I think numbers matter. There is no perfect time to start checking the numbers. Quite honestly, you need to be checking the numbers all the time, right? It's very important. It does get to a point where data management becomes incredibly essential because you have to figure out some ways to categorize the information that you're collecting, what's most important, what's most relevant, and is the way you're looking at it actually converting, or the relationship that you're seeing between the numbers and what you're predicting, is it actually true? So for example, I might say these set of numbers here mean that if I were to do more, I can make more. Well, is that relationship actually true? Can you test it and figure out if that's the result that will come from it? Who knows? But ultimately, I think what everyone should be looking for are patterns in their data. Right? It's like, and I love what you always do, because you're constantly testing in the middle of doing the main fundamental things. And I think that can always give you insight into patterns around what your numbers are always telling you. Because the minute you can catch a pattern, a consistent pattern, it's like, wait a second, every time I post this, I tend to get, on average, this amount of reaction, and that tends to be the most reaction I ever got. Interesting. And as you start picking up on those cues and you find the detailed analysis or the detailed pieces that are contributing to those outcomes, that's when you want to latch on to something and say, okay, it makes sense for me to go more in this direction, because I've literally caught on to a pattern in the data. I've tested it and it's manifested toward the outcomes that I want. And so, listening to him talk, of course, and saying, this is what we saw, and we make that transition, it makes perfect sense. And I just think about it. To go from a personal brand to a universal platform, the name switch, and just the essence of how they use the platform, it makes perfect sense. Can Justin TV be worth nearly $1 billion? I'm not saying it can't. I mean, we saw Mr. Beast kill it as a personal brand, worth multiple billions, at least at the valuation of where he's at now, and fully personal brand. Now, would people want to watch video games on a platform called Justin TV? Again, I don't know. But Twitch right now makes sense, and of course, because we see all the results or all the outcomes that have come from it. But I got to go back to that piece, man. The minute you catch on to a pattern in your data, and you're testing that what you think it is, it's actually producing outcomes toward that relationship, you got to latch onto that and take advantage of it.
Yeah, there's money in these niches. Just we'll keep proving it time and time again, but there's money in these niches. I think there's going to possibly, I'll say possibly, because on the after show I sometimes go rogue and just talk about random stuff. But there possibly we could be talking about even how they realize, like how you said, where, okay, the show doesn't work. This dude running around with a camera doesn't work, but the software does. So let's make this into a platform, right? And I have a whole other reason why I want to cover that, but I think that's really important to see, that you just you're paying attention to what works and what doesn't work, and you're not emotionally attached
That's it right there.
to why, like the original reason that you started, that
Yeah.
the focus is creating something successful, not creating something that you want to personally do, right? Though that helps and it makes life so much easier, right?
Mhm.
But sometimes it depends on the way and how much you want to be successful, depending on your definition of that. You know, maybe they were happy, they saw some type of level of success, but in this particular interview that we were watching, the way they were doing things, they actually were going to run out of money at one point. That it cost about like $1 million to keep it running, and they only were making like 7 to 900K. So they were going to run out of money in like 2 months or so, and they had to make some major changes. But once again, they could have been like, you know what? We're going to make this work this way, and it works all. No, they pivoted and they made things work. And to see their beginnings to $970 million later, I'm so for niching down. Everybody. If you are listening to this, watching this, please just comment. I'm gonna niche down. That's it. I don't even care what it is. Just niche down, so we can make some extra coins out here.
That's a fact. Yeah. I think there's a saying that says there are riches in the niches.
Yes.
Like, hey, I like that. There are riches in the niches. That is fire and super valid. Absolutely. And the dude is a New Yorker. You know what I'm saying? Fellow New Yorker. So Michael, thank you. You know, thanks for putting some more good marks towards New York. We like New York on this show. So if you ever you know want to talk a little bit about what you got going on, we know that you're at the Y Combinator right now. It's up my alley. You know, appreciate that. You know, definitely Nicky and Moose. Tell your people to talk to our people. We'll do some stuff.
Come on. All right. I like that. Super random. Shout out to we've covered him. Rodney Fig. How do you pronounce his name? Kif guy.
Yeah. The guy from Kif. Yep.
Yeah. So he became the first kid from Queens, became the first creative director of the New York Knicks. So shout out to him. Since you brought up New York, and I was like,
hey,
you know what? Let's recognize
represent
Ronnie real quick. That's really huge, and so shout out to him.